our match right now. But we've both tried. I mean, Mogus Marauder was really the standout card for those decks. That and Herald of Torment really impressed me.
Yes.
The rest of the stuff didn't really line up very well. The big problem was that just the deck didn't have a good 2-drop.
That's a big problem, and also this deck takes a lot of splash damage from Dromoka's command because there's a lot of incidental enchantments. Herald of Torment's one of them, and some of the other bestow cards as well, but there's a very solid curve here.
Our knowledge will be tested here. That is a Mardu Shadow Spear. Can't get that one by me, Brett. He also has a White Border Swamp, so I'm a little indifferent towards him right now.
Oh no, Brett and I probably started playing Magic around the same time.
Shadow Spear is going to be dashed now. Some damage will be dealt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you are thrilled, I'm sure.
Here we go.
Dennis, a much more normalized deck. Nothing too impressive going on here for him. I mean, he's just playing Obs on aggro. You're not going to find anything really notable in his deck. I mean, he's got a Herald of Torment, he's got a Tasker, of course, Siege Rhinos and all that stuff. So, you know, just sort of run-of-the-mill stuff. We'll see if this mono black aggro deck can really slide by what's going on here.
The biggest problem that I had with working on mono black aggro, and granted this was a while ago, some cards have been printed, the lack of Mutavault. You really felt it because you needed to play a lot of lands for some of your bestow cards. But if you flooded out, there was nothing really to sink your mana into.
Sure.
Obs on aggro solves that with cards like Rakshasa Death Dealer, Fleece Main Line. It can board up to 5 mana cards. I felt with mono black aggro, I had no way to really fix that problem. But the curve of threats are definitely fine. I mean, I never felt like the creatures were bad.
Here's a Fleece Main Line from Weinbrecht. We'll go back to Krodel. He's got a Sign in Blood. He'll target himself down to 18. He goes 2 cards on the way.
Also, when I built this deck, Bioblight was a lot more popular. Bioblight's really rough on strategies like this. Now, it's more copies of Ultimate Price. It seems interchangeable, but you do draw 2 copies of the same threat pretty frequently when you're playing decks like this.
There you do see the Shadow Spear. Whenever it attacks, each opponent loses a life. It can also be dashed as well. It is a warrior, and there are quite a bit of warriors in the mono black aggro deck. So what's going to end up happening here is, you know, the card quality is going to certainly fall in the favor of Weinbrecht. His card quality is just higher.
By a lot.
Krodel's going to have to maybe take more of a swarming approach in this matchup as he takes a draw step. Looks like Ultimate Price may have been the draw, which is very bad in this matchup for Brett, unfortunately for him.
He split his 2 mana removal here. 2 Ultimate Price, 2 Bioblight. This is definitely a Bioblight matchup.
Yeah. The Bioblight is on a severe decline. We're going with the Strike Leader now. And I have lost to this one before. It's a real pain in the butt, to say the least. You see Dennis is going to take a look at it. Now Brett's going to attack with it. He will get a 2-1. Look at him coming ready with the token. That is very smart of him.
Well, he knew that our feature match area may not have this card at the ready.
Yep.
You know?
Please finish your turn and take 5 additional turns.
So 2-1 warrior left behind because of the Strike Leader. There's an Urborg. Here's a Siege Rhino. And that one is, that one's even harder to beat.
Yeah, 1 copy of Hero's Downfall to remove this from the table.
You saw the Strike Leader. Whenever it does attack, you get a 2-1. And the thing about that card, I lost that card in Limited, actually, where it just kind of went uncontested.
Yeah, you lose the game if they're able to attack twice, basically.
Pretty much. Oh, baby, the Bloodshin Fanatic.
Seeing all the hits right now.
Dennis going to take a look at that. We'll do the same. This is actually an Adam Prozac favorite.
The Bloodshin Fanatic?
Yes, it is. A former Open Series superstar. He loves this card. Sacrifice another warrior creature. Target player loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. Now, keep in mind, sacrifice another warrior. So now what Brett can do is attack with a Strike Leader, get a trigger, and then sacrifice it. So we get a little bit of reach in here. But you can kind of just see where, you know, the idea of what he's trying to accomplish is obviously pretty good, but, I mean, that's a Siege Rhino on the other side of the table.
Yeah, Siege Rhino is a bit of a grind for these kind of strategies. I found that out myself when I was messing around with these kind of decks.
Weinbrecht will draw a card. Siege Rhino and Fleece Main Line on the battlefield. There's certainly a trade in power level here, but for the Obs on aggro deck, the one thing that they you know, by playing 3 colors, you're going to have lands that are that battlefield tapped. You're going to have shaky mana. You're going to have lands that deal you damage. When you're playing a monocolored deck, you're not going to have those issues, but the power of your deck is just going to be lower.
Yes. And, you know, Brett's mana has been pretty cooperative thus far, which helps a lot.
So is Dennis's.
Excuse me, Dennis's mana.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, both players' mana has cooperated just fine. Here's a Jamoka's command. So Siege Rhino is going to get a little bit bigger and take care of the Bloodchin Fanatic. We'll see what's next here for Weinbrecht. He'll go with another Death Dealer and pass the turn back.
And Brett has been sitting this entire game on Mogis' Marauder, and Dennis has sort of incidentally done a very good job of playing around it. I don't know if that card's necessarily on his radar, but Siege Rhino's been back on defense, and now post-combat he has a Death Dealer. Death Dealer's very good in this spot as well, just another black blocker.
Well, here's Mogis' Marauder. You'll get a trigger, and that's the only one that's going to attack at this point. The other one's not great attackers. Death Dealer's going to trade with Mogis' Marauder.
And I like Dennis's block there. It looks kind of anemic. You know, why are you bothering to trade your much better card? But I think Dennis knows that he has such an edge in card quality. As long as he just trades off resources, keeps his life total high, eventually cards like Siege Rhino and more reliable removal spells, they'll win the day.
When I'm playing against a deck like this, if I'm Dennis, and it's like, okay, you've got some cards that I don't see a lot of, and you're 9-2 just like I am, you're up to something.
Yeah.
You know, that's my thought process right away, which is, yeah, I might be kind of unclear what you're up to, but like, I don't know what kind of reach you have in your deck. I don't know what kind of wild cards you have in your deck that maybe I haven't thought of that exist in the format. Maybe that's how you've got your way to your 9 wins. So I'm going to make some blocks that I may not traditionally make as a result.
Yep.
Because you're really put in this uncomfortable position where, you know, you see the cards that Dennis is casting, a Warden of the First Tree, a Tasker. It's like, my cards are better than yours, so I just don't want to lose to anything kind of dumb, for lack of a better term.
Right. And again, you're 9-2.
Yeah.
If this is round 1, maybe that's a different case. But
yes.
You've beaten 9 people in 11 rounds so far. I'm going to show you a degree of respect. Try to trade off as much as possible. Not take unnecessary shots.
So ultimate price, take care of Tasker there. Swamp is land number 6. So Krodel has done a little bit of flooding out at this point. Does have another copy of Mogis' Marauder in hand. See if he's going to cast that or not here in just a moment. But he is certainly behind the 8 ball at this point. If it's Mogis' Marauder, it's probably a defensive Mogis' Marauder, which is never where you want to be with that card.
Yeah. Headless Horseman. Not really a constructed standout.
How dare you? There's a Merciless Executioner. That's the new version of Fleshbag Marauder. When it enters the battlefield, each player has to sacrifice a creature. Marauder's going to come in.
2 of those in the list.
6 to 12 at this point. Weinbrecht will draw. There's 5 mana. There's Herald of Torment. Going to bestow that on a Siege Rhino. I expect that actually from the mono black side of things.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think we have a Herald of Torment mirror, but that's not true. Dennis has a copy. Brett has 0.
That's interesting. Either way, that's going to get the job done there for Dennis. Mr. Weinbrecht does win game number 1 here over Brett Krodel. I was on aggro, up a game over mono black aggro. We'll take a look at the sideboards here. I want some spice from Krodel's deck.
It's actually not, the sideboard's not super spicy here. There's a Damnable Pack, 4 copies of Thoughtseize, 2 Duress, a Virulent Plague, 3 copies of Self-Inflicted Wound, and 4 Master of Feast. I like Self-Inflicted Wound a lot in the matchup. I'm actually surprised that there aren't 4 copies in Brett's sideboard, because that just seems like the most powerful sideboard card in the format for a mono black aggro deck. But the 3 copies are a good starting point there. Once you get past that, I'm not a huge fan of the discard in the matchup, and I don't think Master of Feast is a tenable card against a deck with this much removal and Jamoka's Command.
Master of the Feast, Jamoka's Command has just pushed a lot of cards out of the format.
Yeah, and you can see Brett's deck for playing mono black aggro, he is extremely light on enchantments, and that cannot be an accident.
Yep.
I think that he's aware that Jamoka's Command is already going to be pretty powerful against him, and if he just happens to be throwing enchantment creatures on the table, he's going to get chewed up by that card.
On Weinbrecht's side, he's got 2 Duress, 2 Ultimate Price, 3 Self-Inflicted Wound, 3 Drowned in Sorrow, 2 Wingmate Rock, 2 Nissa World Waker, and a copy of Elspeth, Sun's Champion.
I'm definitely down with the 2 copies of Ultimate Price and the 3 copies of Drowned in Sorrow. Those seem really easy. Wingmate Rock is a pretty powerful way to top off the curve, but it is 5 mana, and if Brett's interacting with you, he's killing all of your creatures. So it is a risky card to sideboard in. I'm not sure if Dennis will do it. Definitely the removal comes in, though.
I mean, the more removal, the better.
Exactly. Elspeth is also a card that may come in, but Elspeth is really bad against Mogis' Marauder. If you tap out for Elspeth against a board and your opponent has Mogis' Marauder, you die a good percentage of the time.
Yep.
So it's not as good as it appears, but Wingmate Rock locks out the game once you start attacking. So, and 5 mana versus 6 is a big difference.
These players will shuffle up here for game number 2. In the meantime, we will talk about the Star City Games newsletter. It has been revamped, and it is your source for Magic the Gathering news.
Everything Star City Games related here is available here. There's matches from the Open Series that are picked, some articles that are selected by Cedric that he encourages you specifically to read, exclusive deck lists and advice from some of our premium columnists like Brian Brondoin, Todd Anderson, Brad Nelson, many others, and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, free to sign up. You know, over starcitygames.com/newsletter. Get signed up right now.
We will have game number 2 underway here for you between Brett Krodel and Dennis Weinbrecht in just a moment. But if you are joining us, it is Cedric Phillips and Patrick Sullivan, along with Nick Miller in the sideboard and the rest of the SCG Live crew. We are here in Baltimore watching our last standard tournament with Dragon's Dark Heroes, the newest set.
Very excited. This format's been great, but we are definitely excited about Magic Origins. A lot of cool cards coming down the pipeline.
Yep.
It's going to be really fun to cover that first Open in Chicago.
Are there any cards that you would like us to talk about at home at SCG Live? Hashtag SCGBALT. As we've gone over all 5 Flip Planeswalkers over the course of 2 days. Some new cards have been spoiled as well.
A certain totally busted 2-mana fish.
We'll be talking about that one soon enough. Patrick is pretty happy about that one. Patrick got a little riled up about it.
I don't know if happy is necessarily the right word for it.
I think you're happy.
I very rarely go, whoa, what is up with this thing? And there's a certain 2-mana fish that I saw yesterday.
It's a pretty good card.
That made me go, whoa, what is going on with this thing?
Pretty good card there. Some reprints like Goblin Pile Driver.
Definitely splashy.
Yep.
Exciting card to bring back.
Some new cards like Honored Hierarch. One of your favorites. We know.
Yeah.
We know. We learned that yesterday. You're very passionate about Honored Hierarch.
Right.
Krodel will be on the play here, but it looks like he's going to take a mulligan.
I think he sent back 5 lands and any 2 spells in his deck, which is a mulligan.
I would mulligan that hand. That's too many lands.
Lands, 21 swamps. Love it.
Straightforward mana base. Got to respect that, right?
Looked like they were all revised in 4th edition. Brett looks like he's probably about my age. We probably played with a lot of the same decks, I'm willing to bet, back in the mid-90s.
Are you calling Brett old?
I'm just saying he looks about, it just depends on how you define old. I'm just saying, based on the lands, I'm guessing. We both played in standard tournaments with Force of Will and Thawing Glaciers. That's all I'm saying.
Nice.
We have probably both bloodlusted a ball of lightning in our lives, is all I'm saying.
Even I've done that.
Yeah.
That's 10 damage.
We both giant growth in Elvish Archers
Very
in our
nice.
day.
Very nice.
That's all I'm saying.
How Magic was meant to be played.
Exactly.
Did you play Chandelar when you were younger?
Of course.
Okay,
It's the greatest game of all time.
I just wanted to confirm. I had a feeling the answer was yes, but we've never had that discussion.
If there was a Chandelar Pro Tour, I'd quit this and go play that instead. Have I played Chandelar? Kind of questions that. I still play Chandelar.
Hey, Watsy, if you guys want to make millions, make that an iPhone app. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just make that an iPhone game. I'll take my cut whenever. Brett gonna take another mulligan here. No, but seriously, make that an iPhone game.
Yeah. You think I'm kidding about it? Do you think that's a joke about Chandelar thing? No.
Used to play a lot of Chandelar back in the day.
Now, fortunately for Brett, his deck can run pretty land light. Mulligan to 5 is not necessarily all doom and gloom, but it does mean that if Dennis just has removal spells or, heaven forbid, Drown in Sorrow, it's going to be really hard to win.
It's probably over then. Temple of Malady is where Weinbrecht will start. See where he wants to put that card from the scry. It's going to go to the bottom. We're going to head back Krodel's way. Sign in Blood was the draw for the turn. Play Bloodshot Rager, pass that turn back. Here's a windswept teeth. Weinbrecht going to go down to 19. We'll see what Landy wants to search up, either a forest or a plains. Basic plains. Fleecemane Lion perhaps on the way here. That appears to be the case. Well, back Krodel's way. He'll take a draw step.
And the relative discrepancy in card quality defined immediately.
Yep. Here's a Sign in Blood. Krodel will target himself. Here is a Swamp and a passing of the turn. Temple Malady, a scry here from Weinbrecht. That top card will go to the bottom. Fleecemane Lion going to come into the red zone. Krodel will go down to 17. And now here is a copy of Ultimate Price. So 17 all. Actually 15 for Krodel due to the Sign in Blood. Here is a Swamp. What's next here for Brett? Merciless Executioner will allow those cards to trade.
But Brett can't really win by trading.
Yeah, not so much. There's a Windswept Teeth.
Particularly on 5 cards.
And a Fenza has shown up here for Weinbrecht. Mardu Shadow Spear, the draw there for Krodel. Here's Sign in Blood number 2. He's going to go down to 13, get a little deeper into his deck. A decent card, undoing mulligans, but that's about all, unfortunately. There's a Thoughtseize. Show you a hand of Wingmate Rock and 2 lands, so
okay,
that's something.
It's the best that Brett can help for.
Yeah.
A high impact spell he gets to take with the Thoughtseize and 2 lands.
Hope that Dennis draws some lands here. Maybe he can steal this one.
Self-inflicted wound. He's got 3 copies in the sideboard. That would be a pretty good time.
Yep.
The problem now is he's just behind the damage race because of the Thoughtseize and the 2 copies of Sign in Blood.
Sure.
And Fenza could be good at this game just by beating him up. It's a 3-turn clock right now.
Yeah, Shadow Spear the play and then the passing of the turn. Weinbrecht going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth. We'll have a Forest or a Plains on the way here in just a moment. Likely to be a Forest.
But he draws a removal spell. Now, there's not a lot of removal for Anafenza in his deck because it can't be targeted by Bile-Blight. So we're looking at the 3 copies of Self-Inflicted Wound. He's got 1 copy of Hero's Downfall in the deck. And I guess if his draws are very cooperative, he could simply race.
Basic Plains the weapon of choice here for Dennis.
But given that Brett mulligan to 5 here, he's got a shot, you know?
He's getting to play.
Yeah.
Dennis will take a draw. In comes Anafenza. Krodel going to go down to 7. Windswept Teeth pass the turn back, so not a creature. Krodel will draw. Looks like he drew another Swamp for the turn. Here's 3 mana. Looks like Mogis' Marauder will be cast. They're the attackers. Looks like it'll be 4 total. Weinbrecht going to sacrifice his fetch line yet again. We'll see what land he wants to search up, and then it'll be his turn. He'll get a basic forest this time. 7 to 11, the race is on. Again, if Weinbrecht floods out a little bit here, doesn't draw a creature. Maybe draw stuff like Thoughtseize, things that don't help. Krodel will find a copy of Self-Inflicted Wound. He might be able to win this one.
Even chump blocking is reasonable. I mean, you know, if he draws even random creatures, he's got a shot.
Weinbrecht will draw. Here comes Anafenza. Krodel will go down to 3. And a Siege Rhino was the draw for the turn. So that makes things pretty easy. Want indeed.
Want.
Dennis Weinbrecht going to win this match over Brett Krodel. 2 games to 0. Abzan aggro will take care of mono black aggro. Not really an unexpected result, in my opinion. The power level of Abzan aggro is just much higher than mono black.
And one of the big problems in that matchup is Brett's way of cheating creature matchups is through Mogis' Marauder. And Dennis produces enough black blockers and has enough removal to prevent Mogis' Marauder from being lethal. There's some matchups where that card is going to do a ton of work, but Abzan aggro is not one of those. And once you don't have Mogis' Marauder as an option to cheat creatures, it's just the power level of your stuff versus the power level of their